You're listening to Beyond Wellness Radio, bringing you the cutting edge in health, biohacking, and sports performance. Stay up to date and listen anywhere and anytime on your computer, tablet, or smartphone by subscribing on iTunes. Catch your host, Dr. Justin Marcagiani, as he answers your burning health questions as well as interviews from world-renowned guest experts. For more Beyond Wellness Radio, go to beyondwellnessradio.com.
Hey there, it's Dr. Justin Marcagiani. Welcome to Beyond Wellness Radio. Feel free and head over to beyondwellnessradio.com where you can access our full podcast transcriptions. While you're there, you can also sign up for our thyroid and female hormone video series. This series goes into the root cause of why your hormones are out of balance. While you're there, you can also schedule a functional medicine consult with Dr. Justin, myself, where we'll dig deeper into the root cause of your health challenges. Feel free and think of sharing this podcast with at least one person. This podcast grows by people sharing it. Sharing is caring. If you can think of one person that can benefit from this information, please feel free and share it. If you're enjoying the podcast, make sure you subscribe on iTunes. You can also click below the video or podcast where you'll see the iTunes review button and leave us a review. You can also sign up for the newsletter at beyondwellnessradio.com where you'll get updates before anyone else. Thank you so much and enjoy the show. Hey there, it's Dr. Justin Marcagiani. Welcome back to the podcast. We have Evan Brand here today. We're going to do a live podcast today on mood and natural mood solutions, getting to the root cause of your mood concerns. So we're live on Facebook here as well, live on YouTube. Make sure you click down below. Leave us some comments. We want to know what you think. We appreciate a share. We appreciate the like. Obviously, subscribe, and don't forget to smash the bell so you can get notifications of our awesome content coming up. So, Evan, how are we doing today, man?
Hey, man, I'm doing pretty good. I'm looking for statistics right now to make sure we can discuss how many people have depression, how many people have anxiety. The Center for Disease Control, they study this stuff. And so I want to make sure people understand this is not just one or two people out in the world that are struggling with mood issues. I mean, it's an epidemic. So how big of an epidemic? Well, that's what I'm about to tell you.
Awesome. So let's dive in. So we're going to be talking about mood issues. Now, I kind of draw the line in a couple of different areas because there's going to be mood issues that are like all the time. And you're going to see this in men and women. And more in women, you're going to see mood issues that are more cyclical, that are involved with their cycle, whether it's typically it's going to be sometimes at ovulation and usually throughout that luteal phase, that last part of a woman's cycle, a week, maybe 3 days to a week before they actually menstruate or bleed, have their period. That's when you're going to see a lot of mood issues, and that could be hormonally based. So if you have mood issues that are more cyclical than like an everyday kind of thing, there's that. Number 2, blood sugar issues. People that are on a reactive hypoglycemia roller coaster and live their life on a blood sugar roller coaster, that's going to be a problem. Number 3, just poor nutrition. Like you're not getting enough B vitamins and magnesium and amino acids in your body. So your diet's just poor nutritionally. It's not nutritionally dense to provide the building blocks to make all the brain chemicals. And then number 4, I would say, is a malabsorption issue, meaning you don't have your digestion isn't off, or you don't have the digestive secretions because of infections or food allergens or gut stress. You're not able to break down those nutrients. So maybe the nutrients are coming in, but we're having a deficit on the breakdown side, if you will.
Yeah, it's not what you eat. It's what do you digest from what you eat. So you could have a paleo diet,
yes,
but if you're still on an acid blocker or you have some infection, you could still be at a deficiency of those amino acids that you need to manufacture brain chemicals.
Exactly. And then number 5 would kind of dovetail with the female hormone issue, but that'd be more on the adrenal stress side, highs and lows in cortisol or cortisol rhythm issues. Now, I would say a lot of women that have the cyclical issues probably have an adrenal issue, but there are some people that may have all the time issues that are more adrenal based, and or men may have adrenal based issues. And then connecting to that, I would say would be the thyroid. Low thyroid hormone commonly shows up as anxiety. They've done studies where they've taken people with anxiety and mood issues, given one group lithium, the other group actual T3, and they found the actual T3 thyroid hormone solved some of the mood-related issues better than the lithium did. So those are kind of the big 4 or 5 things I'm trying to dovetail, and we can connect. Any comments on that, the brief overview, Evan?
Yeah. So what symptoms are we talking? Like when we say mood issues, are we hitting, we already did an anxiety podcast. We could talk about depression. That's part of it. Are we just saying mood issues as a whole? I mean, that could be irritability. That could be anger. I mean, do we just tie it all together? Because really it's all connected.
Yeah, irritability, anger, anxiety, depression, and then typically those things tend to dovetail with fatigue. I think the only thing, if we're
Yeah.
fatigue, most people that have fatigue tend to have those issues, with the exception of maybe anxiety. I've seen some people that are very energetic but are anxious, kind of that tired but wired kind of thing, but they may not be like fatigue, so to speak. So
True.
typically you're going to see almost all of those issues have a fatigue backbone, with the exception of anxiety, maybe. But you can still be anxious and tired though too.
Yeah. So depression specifically, what I found here for statistics in the
Mhm.
U.S., about 10% of the U.S. population has reported depression. So, I mean, how many people are depressed that have not reported it? Probably a huge amount. So, if we estimate the U.S. population over 300
Right.
million people,
Mhm.
10%, that's what, 30 million people? That's a
Yep.
lot of people. So, this is not just you and your brother and your sister and your cousin. No, I mean, this is
Right.
everywhere you go. I think the numbers are probably way higher than
Mhm.
10%. I think it's just that people are not reporting it. What are you going to do? Like, you're going to go to your doctor, you're depressed. A lot of people are catching on to the fact that all they're going to do is get a prescription pad written for them. And in your intro, you said nothing about a deficiency of depression medication. You didn't say anything about a deficiency of anti-anxiety medication. So people know, they know that's the only supposed cure that they're going to get is those drugs, and people don't want to do it. I mean, you and I talk with people every single day, all day, and a lot of them do have depression, and they know I can't get help from conventional psychiatry or doctors. So then they come to us because they know there's something else going on. It's not just a pill that I'm missing to fix my depression. It's something underlying. And I had depression for, I don't know, 10 years. I mean, as long as I could remember. And my mood started to lift significantly after I worked on my gut.
100%. Now, looking at a lot of medications, acutely a medication may be necessary if you're in a suicidal place. That may make sense, but you have to work with someone to get to the root cause. The problem is most antidepressants, they actually don't work in the long run. What happens is the dose has to be raised up. And then as you increase the dose, your chance of side effects increase. And side effects of antidepressants could be weight gain, it could be low libido, it could be other mood issues, it could be energy issues. So there's other issues that could happen spinning off of various side effects. So, like with antidepressants, we have SSRI medications, right? That's your selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. These are like you pre and postsynaptic neuron. You have all the brain chemicals here in between the synapse. This is like your serotonin, and there's reuptake ports on the presynaptic neuron where these chemicals get recycled. And a reuptake inhibitor, it blocks this. So imagine putting my hand over this part, and that way these chemicals cannot go back into that presynaptic neuron. And if you guys are listening on podcast, feel free and click below to see the YouTube link so you can see my little hand puppetry, if you will. So that's kind of an SSRI. You have SNRI, which is like selective norepinephrine reuptake inhibitor. So SNRI, and that's looking at norepinephrine dopamine, which is similar. You have things like Wellbutrin. There's other medications that are in that category that are working more on adrenaline, dopamine kind of cascade, because dopamine is a precursor to adrenaline. So you have those medications on the depression side. There's new lines of antidepressant medications coming out working on brain inflammation. Conventional medicine is starting to understand that brain inflammation is a big impact on mood. So they're giving you these medications to help with that. Now you got to be careful because anytime you don't get to the root cause, you create potential side effects. So these medications are so new coming out, not even sure if they're even for market yet. They're in the testing process now. So the side effects I'm not sure of yet, but I guarantee you there'll be a whole bunch. Now, looking at functional medicine and nutrition, we want to get to the root cause of that brain inflammation. So one of the first thing we look at is the diet. And the first thing after that is the gut, because inflammation in the gut drastically causes inflammation in the brain. We have the tight junctions open up, this leaky gut, gastrointestinal permeability phenomenon occurs, undigested particulate, bacteria, foods, gluten, dairy get into the bloodstream. They can make their way up to the brain and they can activate our microglial cells, which can create more cognitive issues, more brain fog, and more mood issues. So depression is a really big component. So just kind of laying out the medications here. And then obviously we have like our GABA, like benzodiazepine medications, which are going to be working more on the GABA receptor sites. And then we have our old tricyclics from the 80s, which are antidepressants from the 80s, less side effects with those, but those still are kind of a weaker SSRI in a sense.
Well, the problem with the benzos is that they're highly addictive. And if you try to come off of those, you have a big withdrawal period where there's going to be potentially more anxiety, more depression, panic attacks. I mean, I've had people who they'll come to me after they tried to go cold turkey off of a benzo and they're having night sweats and panic attacks. It's like, no, you can't do that. You know, those drugs really, really affect you. So it's just not something you can do on your own. You really have to have a doctor to help get you off of those drugs. And a big problem is too people that are trying to mix supplements with medications too. I mean, you can't just go take a SSRI and then go take 500 milligrams of 5-HTP. That's just not something that you want to do. It's rare, and I haven't seen any cases of it personally, but it's called serotonin syndrome, and that's when you can boost up serotonin way too much with the drug and a nutrient. So this isn't, I mean, when you're talking brain chemistry, you don't want to come in there and just go to Whole Foods, buy a bunch of amino acids and start popping them if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, and the side effects are pretty prolific. Like we talked about, nausea, fatigue, poor sleep, dry mouth, blurry vision, constipation, low libido, weight gain. So all of these things can add to the milieu of symptoms that are already there. And we're not getting to the root cause. So we kind of laid at the medications. We talked about how important that is. We obviously know food's really important because food's where all the building blocks come from. So we want diets that are very important, very nutrient dense with lots of good, healthy B vitamins, especially B6, which helps activate a lot of our brain chemicals. So obviously like a paleo template is going to be a great starting point with healthy organic green vegetables, lower sugar fruit, lots of good anti-inflammatory compounds there, good healthy omega-3 fats, which can help with brain inflammation and help with inflammation in general, and lots of healthy, good animal products that are going to be grass-fed, not grain-fed with all the Roundup and pesticides and junk.
Yeah, I've noticed a big difference myself with the fish oil. Just taking that tends to just level my mood out. It's not like it's an antidepressant effect like you would get from something like rhodiola. That's one of my favorite adaptogenic herbs for depression. It's not that significant, but it just kind of makes you more even keel, where something like an adaptogen is going to help really boost you, and you're going to feel altered, almost like you have a buzz from the herbs. Like, whoa, I feel happy. I feel great. Shink push pea is good for that. Go-to cola is good. I would say ginkgo could be in that category too, because ginkgo will help with the blood flow in the brain. Some of it could just be poor oxygenation. Wouldn't you think? Like if someone's sedentary and maybe they have poor circulation, maybe they have mold issues that's blocking nitric oxide. I mean, how much of depression do you think is an oxygen related issue?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you have poor or increased coagulation, meaning blood's kind of viscous, it's like molasses, things aren't flowing well. Exercise helps improve that. Just getting inflammation down. When you're more inflamed and you have more inflammatory cytokines or interleukins in your bloodstream, things get stickier and they're not going to flow as well. So movement helps. Getting the inflammation down helps. Doing things like ginger tea. Ginger can be helpful. Fish oil is a natural blood thinner. So you talk about fish oil, part of the mechanism how fish oil works is it helps that coagulability. It prevents things from clotting and sticking. And also fish oil is like a weak MAO inhibitor. So basically MAO is another kind of enzyme that metabolizes a lot of these brain chemicals kind of naturally. And it has a way of delaying that metabolism. So not quite a drug-like effect, but it does have a mild effect there. And again, when you do things that are more natural and have mild effects, you have less side effects. So fish oil is wonderful with that. Also, things like St. John's wort has some really good depression, antidepressant qualities too. And a lot of times they're working on indirectly. They have anti-inflammatory effects. They have, which then helps with blood flow, which then they tend to have maybe a mild MAO kind of, decreasing the metabolism of our brain chemicals kind of mechanism that's happening at play. Also, one thing about gluten, they've done studies on gluten where gluten decreases blood flow to the frontal cortex. So you have, your garden hoses up the side of your head, it's called your carotids. They gave people basically functional MRIs and they looked at blood flow and activation in the frontal cortex pre and post gluten, and they saw significant reduction in blood flow to the frontal cortex, the neocortex, which is what makes us humans compared to animals. And they saw a significant reduction, and also significant reduction in migraines when that blood flow was supported, meaning when they cut the gluten down, migraine stopped, and they also saw that the blood flow was coming up when that happened. So to kind of outline the mechanism, blood flow is a really important component. So anytime we can decrease the coagulability, meaning things sticking, and we can improve the blood flow like we talked about, that makes a huge difference. Now, exercise helps with the blood flow. It also helps stimulate beta endorphin, which is a natural antidepressant. It hits that opiate receptor, and it's a 19 amino acid compound, meaning you need to be digesting and having good protein. So the more you're vegan and vegetarian and you're not getting good quality proteins in there, or you're not supplementing additional proteins and B12 as a vegetarian, vegan, and omega-3 from algae, you're in a worse situation because you're not getting those certain nutrients in.
Yeah, I've got my wife on some herbs right now. St. John's wort, passion flower, motherwort, dandelion, dahmania, black cohosh. This is a kind of a postpartum mood remedy that we're using. That's an herbal tincture. And I've tried it and I feel great. I feel a lift from it too. So this is something we're doing for her just because, a lot of depression, we didn't talk about this yet. A lot of depression is postpartum, but then it never lifts, right? You and I talk with moms every single week. We'll talk with the mom who says, you and I will do a history together. We'll say, okay, let's go back in time. When did this depression start? Or when did this anxiety start? We're always trying to make our timeline. And so a lot of moms will say, well, this was after my first kid or after my second kid or after my third kid. The depression came on and it never went away. And some of that's thyroid related because we do see a lot of postpartum Hashimoto's where all of a sudden the immune system goes crazy. Antibodies go up. The thyroid gets attacked. The woman becomes hypo, under functioning with thyroid, or maybe she's alternating between hypo and hyper, and then she's feeling bad because of that. And so these herbs can come in and really help to regulate not only thyroid function, you could do some adaptogens to help adrenals, thyroid, but then the mood ones too. Like passion flower, I love it. I think it's something everybody could benefit from, especially if you're more on the anxious side where you're stuck in traffic and you're freaking out. Even my grandfather the other day, he told me, he said, Evan, I can't handle traffic anymore. And my grandma starts making fun of him. They were talking about how they got stuck in rush hour traffic and my grandpa was kind of freaking out, kind of panicking, getting anxious. And he never used to be like that. So I told him, hey, maybe we can get you a passion flower tincture. You put it in your my grandma's purse and take a shot of that next time you get stuck in traffic.
Exactly. Now, some natural ways that you can improve GABA levels is there's some people that talk about GABA is too small or too large to pass the blood-brain barrier, but
yeah,
I don't know. I kind of go back and forth on that. So there's that. So you could take a product called PharmaGABA and you can do it sublingually. So I'm going to take one now to kind of promote my parasympathetic nervous system response.
I love them. They're great. I chew them up too. So
great tasting. So
100 milligrams.
Excellent. Anytime you're supporting adrenal stress, right? Because GABA is the brake on the sympathetic fight or flight nervous system. So anytime you can kind of bring cortisol and adrenaline back into balance, it's helpful. So things that you can do are going to be L-theanine is going to be excellent. Magnesium will be excellent. Ashwagandha will be excellent as well. That really helps curtail, let's just say, a lot of the HPA axis dysfunction.
Let's go into magnesium a bit because you hit that one, but I don't want to gloss over because magnesium is a huge needle mover. Maybe let's dive into just a couple different forms for people that they could use. So last night I did some magnesium oil. I did some spray on my legs, my calves. I started to feel a little cramp coming on. I thought, I was in the sauna over the weekend. I was sweating. I might not have replenished enough of my magnesium. So I did magnesium oil and I slept much better with the oil. So that's one topical form. And then a lot of times you and I talk about magnesium glycinate, but magnesium malate, I've had really good success with malate, especially for like muscle relaxation.
Exactly. So magnesium is going to be excellent. It's a natural beta blocker, so it can relax your heart. So your heart's not beating out of your chest. Obviously, there's like 1,000 enzymatic roles in the body for magnesium. So it's going to help with motility. It's going to help with blood sugar metabolism. It's going to help with inflammation in the brain. I think part of the mechanism and how magnesium works with mood too is it's highly anti-inflammatory to the brain. I saw a lecture with Russell Blaylock, who's a famous neurosurgeon, and he said clinically when he operated on people and he would give them post-op supplemental magnesium, they healed better than his colleagues' patients that had the same procedure. It was like a remarkable difference, he said. So supplementing additional magnesium really made a big difference.
Magnesium threonate, that's amazing. Magnesium threonate would be the other form I would recommend, just because we do know magnesium threonate actually crosses the blood-brain barrier. So when you're talking about GABA, supposedly being too big to cross the blood-brain barrier, and the pharma GABA is smaller and is more readily available to get through the barrier. Same thing with magnesium threonate. So if you do 1 to 2 grams of threonate, that's going to get to the brain, and you'll feel significant changes. I mean, we've used it for people with PTSD. Some of the literature, we use professional healthcare companies to manufacture our products, and they'll give us some tech sheets on the back end, and they'll have a whole list of symptoms why you would use threonate, and PTSD and anxiety is one of them. So we know these people, think of anybody who's at a stressful or traumatic event, which is pretty much every human ever, obviously some more than others. The threonate to me is a good remedy. I mean, if I had like a trauma clinic or like a PTSD clinic or something, or a mental health clinic where, let's say you've got people having mental breakdowns, kind of back in the day, like her grandmother would talk about, oh, if you have a mental breakdown, you go to this hospital, you stay in there for a month and they send you home. I guarantee they weren't using magnesium threonate because it wasn't invented back then, but that would be something I would have in the protocol for people rather than automatically going to the prescriptions.
Yeah, and I know Blaylock, I don't even think Blaylock was using threonate back then because it wasn't really that big. Right?
Yeah.
I think he was using a standard citrate probably. Citrate's fine. It's a cheaper version. You can get it in natural calm. It can cause your bowels to move. So some people do better with a malate or a glycinate. Or if there's cognitive issues, we can do a magnesium that is a threonate that's better at crossing the blood-brain barrier. We love that.
Yeah, so sorry, I wanted to give you a brief diversion on the magnesium piece, because people hear magnesium, but then they don't know there's a lot of different varieties of it that have different effects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Now, next, passion flower is great, which is otherwise known as Melissa officinalis, another great relaxing kind of herb. It tends to be almost like a natural Xanax.
Melissa's lemon balm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah. The Latin for passion.
Same thing. Melissa and lemon balm tend to be relaxing. So a lot of like natural hyperthyroid formulas have that in it. So Melissa and lemon balm are over here. Passion flower is similar, and then valerian's both similar. They tend to have relaxing, kind of dampening effects. The Latin. Appreciate you commenting on that. Thank you.
Yeah, the Latin on, because you said passion flower, and then you said otherwise Melissa. Yeah, passion flower's Latin name is like passiflora something, incarnata, something like that. I don't remember.
So it's lemon balm and Melissa are the same thing.
Yeah,
passion flower and then valerian. Excellent. Also, we can add kava to the mix. There's been research on kava from the Cochrane database, finding it's very effective at helping with anxiety without the side effects. So kava is excellent.
Have you tried kava?
I've tried it supplementally a couple times. I've tried it. Someone made me kava tea before. It's big in Fiji. I think it's very helpful. It basically activates those GABA A receptors. There's GABA A and GABA B, and it really activates the A receptors in the brain. So it can really help kind of chill you out and relax you.
I went to a kava bar one time when I was down in Austin, and I drank a shot of it. It tasted and looked like mud water.
That's exactly how it tasted and looked. Yep.
Yeah, and I was altered. I thought, man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to drive home. I mean, I'm real sensitive, so maybe my GABA system just got flooded. But I was sitting back in the chair kind of like, whoa. I mean, it hit me like a ton of bricks.
I've also seen CBD do very well on the mood side too. So
that's true.
Cannabidiol with the non-active THC I think is very helpful too. I always tend to lean more on nutrition first. So like the B vitamins, B6, magnesium. We'll also do higher dose L-theanine amino acid, which can help promote GABA production, supplemental GABA. So I tend to promote those along with the long-standing adaptogens that have a long-term success record, like ashwagandha is excellent. I'd say kava after that's wonderful. Lots of studies on it. And then any comments on that before we go to the next step?
Yeah, CBD's been helpful for me too. I give it to my daughter. So if she complains of a headache or a bellyache, or if she seems restless at night, we'll just give her a 1 milliliter dose, which the brand I carry is a 10 milligram CBD. She'll go right to sleep. So it's a really good settling thing. And so for kids too, I mean, I didn't mention the statistics. I was looking at some of this stuff from the Center for Disease Control. I mean, we're seeing 20 to 30% of children now are reporting anxiety and depression. So I have moms that are telling me their kids are suicidal at 5, 10 years old. I mean, when I was 5 and 10 years old, I had no comprehension of death or mortality. So I don't know if it's, the TV shows and the violence that kids are exposed to in other places that I wasn't, because I was outside on my bike all the time, or what. But, as a kid, I don't remember other kids being anxious and depressed. Now, I mean, it's almost every single kid that I see. There's an underlying anxiety problem associated with, as you mentioned, the gut. We see these kids eating conventional food. They're getting tons of glyphosate. Their good bacteria are killed off. The bacterial overgrowth are making toxins, which are depressing and causing anxiety in the kids. So, I mean, there is a root cause for the kids too. It's not where they need to be put on medication immediately. Same thing with ADHD. These kids are getting diagnosed with ADHD. We see that get better with fixing the gut too.
100%.
And there's herbs for kids too. So there's actually, I mean, technically we can just dose adult formulas down, but there are some special kids formulas that we do use that are specifically, maybe they have a glycerin base as opposed to an alcohol base, and passion flower, skullcap, things like that. You can use those with kids as well.
100%. Also, there's something called, people may know it, called phenibut, or 4-amino-3-phenylbutyric acid. Now, this component's a little bit controversial because there can be some addictive qualities to it. It's essentially a GABA agonist. It supposedly crosses the blood-brain better. It's a GABA agonist. I've had some people that had phenomenal results with it, but I've seen it become a little bit more addictive and people become dependent upon it. So it's one of those things, as a double-edged sword. I would never go to it first, but I've seen people that have done very well with it. I think it would probably be better than being on a benzo long term, but I would always try to, that'd be the last thing I would potentially ever go to in my arsenal because of the so-called some addictive qualities to it.
Yeah, I mean, it helped change my life and get me through some tough times. But yeah, there's a huge risk with people not respecting it and overusing it and down-regulating GABA so much that you get more anxious, you get more panic, et cetera, when you try to get off of it. Whereas the pharma GABA that you just chewed up, you're not going to have that potential for that one.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. So we have a lot of the supplementation. I would also say and it just depends too, because if we have a high cortisol state, things that can help lower cortisol make a big difference. Some people have a very low cortisol state, and some of their anxiety and mood issues is driven by low cortisol. So some people think it's like, hey, this is the solution for that. Well, it really depends, because what if you have low adrenaline and low cortisol? Well, a lot of your anxiety and mood stuff could be from the lower state versus higher anxiety and high cortisol, or higher adrenaline and high cortisol. We may need things to bring it down. So we may be doing things more like phosphorylated serine to bring it down, and ashwagandha. And we may do things to bring it up that are more stimulating, like ginseng or licorice if it's chronically low, and or tyrosine if we see low adrenaline. So we got to look at what the pattern is, because sometimes extreme high and lows can feel the same. And that's hard for people to wrap their heads around.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I had a woman in college who she was in Hawaii. I remember that. We found out her dorm was super moldy, and that's why she was having all these panic attacks. So that was cool to find. But she had extremely, extremely high cortisol. But just based on doing the initial intake, and we talked over her symptoms, she was exhausted, couldn't get out of bed, et cetera. We thought, oh my God, I bet her cortisol is flatline. No, it was the opposite. It was very sky high. So this is why, you listen to a podcast, you think, oh, I've got low cortisol. I'm tired. I'm going to go take a bunch of licorice. No way. If we would have given that to that girl with high cortisol, we would have made her blood pressure go up. She would have had more anxiety, more panic. So this is why you have to test. You don't want to guess with this stuff. You really want to get the data. Maybe we should talk about that now. Do you think we should move on to testing?
Yeah. So I would say off the bat, right, we got to make sure the gut's functioning well, right? The absorption of these nutrition, where inflammation kind of gets into the bloodstream and goes to the brain, really depends a lot on gut inflammation. So good, high quality stool testing. I know we talk about doing the GI map test we like. There's a couple others that we do as well. But if someone wants to dig in deeper to the gut, we have to really fully assess that.
Yeah, so the gut's huge. Urine. I mean, urine's great. We test for mycotoxins through urine. We test for chemicals. We test for amino acid metabolism. We test for bacterial overgrowth and candida, which can affect the mood. So getting a urine test will be key. And then getting the saliva adrenal test or a urine. I don't know. Do you do salivary adrenals anymore, or are you just doing urine?
I'll do sometimes salivary adrenals, but I've been liking the urinary metabolites because I see a lot of women that have a hard time metabolizing estrogen. So it's nice to be able to run that one, because I can also see how they're metabolizing the hormones too. So that
Okay.
really helps if you're a female and you have estrogen dominant issues.
Okay. So urine,
Which
saliva,
can
maybe a
connect with the
combination.
mood, right? Estrogen dominance, right? That ratio of progesterone to estrogen drops, right? Progesterone and estrogen drop. And sometimes it can drop like this, meaning everything drops, but progesterone drops faster. So it's nice to be able to see that because that can be a big mood issue. Remember, progesterone is a natural GABA chloride channel opener, meaning we can promote GABA in the brain with healthy levels of progesterone. So part of your GABA issue could be lower progesterone as a woman. And also, progesterone's very anti-inflammatory in the brain. Even with men with like concussions or any brain trauma, they'll give a couple 100 milligrams of progesterone for a few days after brain trauma to actually curtail the inflammation in the brain. So progesterone's very anti-inflammatory because of its cortisol building block effect. So progesterone can help brain inflammation and brain trauma.
Now let's go a little further then. Are you talking supplementing progesterone? Or are you talking doing some of these specialized maca extracts to help regulate progesterone or estrogen? Both.
Well, but it depends on how bad it is. If it's slightly out of balance, we always lean to herbs and diet and natural components.
Mhm.
If it's significantly out of balance, we'll use the bioidentical plant-based and we'll dose it accordingly to accelerate the results.
Okay. And then like estrogen dominance, you're talking removing plastics, removing phthalates and other things from the makeup and environment. Plus, maybe you're going to be throwing in some herbs to help regulate that. Maybe like do you pronounce it chrysin? Chrysin?
Yeah, chrysin's more going to help on the testosterone side, but on the
Okay.
estrogen side, we would do more like calcium deglucarate, indole-free carbinol, diindole methane,
Yeah.
vitamin C, fiber, right? These things are really helpful. Also, there's some seed protocols where um, they'll do what's the seed? The alpha linoleic acid omega-3,
Is it the
flaxseed.
flax? Yeah.
Flaxseed in the first half of the cycle. So F for first half of the cycle, and then typically a lot of sesame seeds for the second half of the cycle, F and S. Sometimes we'll throw some pumpkin seed in there as well, and that can help bind up some of the estrogen metabolites too.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I was going to say, I was reading some studies over the weekend about detoxing mycotoxins, and actually, one of the suggested things to do was take flaxseed to help bind to toxins. So that's pretty cool. It'll bind
Yep.
to excess estrogen as well.
Yeah, I think that's in our Toxties bind product too, isn't it?
It is, yes.
Exactly. So that's really good for mycotoxins and mold. And then we already kind of dovetail through the mold mycotoxin coagulability issue. It's in a decreased blood flow. So if you have any mold or environmental stuff, that could easily be affecting how the blood is flowing to the brain, and obviously potentially even getting to the brain and activating those microglial cells too. So that's very possible.
Yeah, I've got a story. People like stories, right? So we get into the geeky stuff, and then people like zone out on us. So here's a quick story. I was working with a teacher last week. She's in her 60s. She's about to retire, and we were discussing her urine test. We looked at her urine for mycotoxins. She had a lot of different mold problems, and I gave her some of these little plates, these little petri dishes, and we took them to her school. She put them in her classroom. Her classroom came back very moldy. And she goes, oh my God, this explains why after summer break, all the teachers leave, they come back. And she says her and all of her colleagues talk about how they get depressed, they get fat, they get tired, they get anxious, etc. when they come back to school. Now, obviously people would say, oh, it's just the kids stressing them out. No, she's getting out of the moldy environment for the summer. The mold grows during the summer. They probably don't run the air conditioners because they're saving money on budget during the summer. They come back, school starts in August or whenever, and then they get sick again. But luckily in her case, she's retiring, so it didn't matter. But this is a real issue with a lot of women in office buildings or school buildings. If you feel worse, if you feel more tired, you feel more depressed, etc., when you go into a certain environment, that might not just be the stress of the job or the bad boss. This could be a toxin or pollutant in there. So you may need to get like a HEPA filter in your classroom, or a portable HEPA filter to put on your desk if you're in a cubicle and you've got people wearing perfume and stuff around you, right? You may need to try to make yourself have a little healthy bubble if you can't leave or fix the environment that you have to work in.
100%. Also, be on top of your environment. So we've already done plate testing in your house and my house. My basement, my new office and my basement tested great for mold, but I'm noticing that the humidity content's going up as we get closer to the summer. So like my first two floors, it's at like 43, 44%, but then my basement or my office is at 56%. Now, the problem is I would run the air conditioning more to knock it down, but the problem is it's already 65 degrees, right? It's already kind of cool because of, the nature of basements. So because of that, because I'm on top of it, I'm going to be getting a whole house dehumidifier specific for basement dwellings to remove the humidity from the air. That way I don't have to drop the temperature. I can keep the temperature where it's at and just suck the moisture out of the air and drain it out. So based on your feedback, I'm already on top of that. And everyone listening, if you have a moldy environment or any environmental symptoms, but there are no leaks, check the humidity content of your house.
Yeah, it sounds like we're coming out of left field. Like, okay, we're talking about GABA supplements. Now we're talking about your environment. Your environment is a huge piece of it. I mean, think of how much time you spend indoors. It's like, what, 95% of your day, most people are indoors. So the air you breathe can affect your nervous system. We know just based on looking at the EPA's work where they're sampling the homes that live near highways. We know that the pollution from a major highway gets into the home, and that actually increases cortisol. So you actually have a shorter lifespan if you live close to a major highway or a busy road or a busy intersection. They've done studies on people that live near four-way stop signs and four-way traffic lights. And if you live near those busy intersections, the cars are braking, the brake dust gets into the air, it goes into your home, it contaminates, your children's lungs, your lungs, et cetera. So if you're in a busy area, and even if you're not in a busy area, I mean, here's the deal. I've got 5 acres, I'm out in the country, but we still have bad air quality because of the way the wind blows. And so when the summer starts heating up the pollutants from the car exhaust, we'll have air quality alert days all the time during the summer. So that's the time where you want air purifiers in your home, in your space, making sure your air's clean. Now, if you go outside and play, sure, you're going to get exposed to the crap. But if you're in your home, you need it to be a sanctuary in terms of free of extra EMF, free of mold, free of extra humidity, free of pollutants. This is very, very critical, especially your bedroom.
100%. That's why we recommend also high quality air filtration as well. If you go to my site, justinhealth.com/shop, you can click on the recommended products tab and look at some of the products that I recommend and I personally have. I have multiple. Same thing. If you go to evanbrand.com and click on his store button, he has similar products that we both recommend and talk about and share with each other. But if you guys are enjoying this content, that's a great way to support us, so you can get great products that we've already tested for y'all.
Yep. Yeah, we've got like 4 different brands. I'm always experimenting. So we're trying to get you the best of the best. There's a lot of crap out there. Like if you go to Target or Walmart and you go buy an air purifier, is that better than nothing? Yes. But is it the best of the best? Probably not. No.
Exactly.
You get what you pay for. You get what you pay for. You can go buy a $50 HEPA filter, but I buy more like $500 HEPA filters, but they're built like a tank and they're quality. So
yeah, and it's kind of, you're getting like almost a surgical based kind of air filtration.
Yeah, it's like a hospital in my house in terms of the air purity, not the candida everywhere on the walls that is affecting people. Have you read about that? The candida, like aureus outbreak. It's very dangerous.
Yes, I've seen that. It's pretty bad. That's
why hospitals don't know what to do. I mean, they're running out of options. The antifungal drugs are not working.
Yeah, they need to be using more silver and probably even more specific probiotics. Because I think a lot of these candida things are coming potentially from people post-antibiotic supplementation or post-probiotic prescription. So I think that component's big. Also, I know surgically, my mom's a surgical nurse for 45 years. They're using a lot more silver now. They're wrapping all joints in like a silver cellophane after surgery to prevent MRSA and issues. So silver's already being used at that surgical level.
Good. Yeah. We still need more help though. I mean, when the Center for Disease Control says, hey, basically don't even go in a hospital unless you have to. I mean, that's pretty scary.
Oh yeah. Like if I have to go somewhere, I'm calling a doctor and going directly and paying cash, or I'm going to an urgent care place where you're kind of in and out versus the conventional ER. Forget about it.
It's just not safe. So, obviously the hospitals are there. Sometimes we have to go there. But when we're talking about mood related issues, I mean, you could have something as simple as a panic attack. You think you're dying because of a panic attack. You go to the ER and then they go run a bunch of tests on you and send you home with anxiety prescription and nothing was wrong. And now you expose yourself to all these pathogens in the hospital and you come home more sick than you went in. That's just not a good thing to do.
Exactly. Yep. 100%. So, hey, man, today was a great podcast. Is there anything else you want to add to the show here?
The last thing, blood sugar. We've done so many. We always talk about blood sugar, but I just forgot to mention it because, when we talk anxiety, mood issues, there's so many pieces of the puzzle. When I feel low, if I feel depressed, if I feel anxious, if I feel like, oh, my heart's starting to race a little bit, I'll go prick my finger and, sometimes I'm at like a 68 and I'm like, my glucose is just too low. I'm getting that adrenaline response, which is driving anxiety. So, I mean, we got so many people practicing intermittent fasting and doing low carb diets, et cetera. And these people, depending on the stress in their life, they may be less tolerable of lower carb, less tolerable of intermittent fasting.
Correct.
So for me, intermittent fasting was too stressful. So I just currently don't do it. And I was noticing that I felt more anxious on those fasts. And so for me, blood sugar stability is a huge component.
Yep, I 100% agree. And if you guys are liking this content, give us the thumbs up, smash that like button, and hit the bell as well so you can get notifications. I'll be doing a live Thyroid Reset Summit Q&A for all the people that were involved in the Thyroid Summit. So if you guys are enjoying this, I am set to go live here in another 40 minutes. We'll be taking only thyroid Q&A topics. Anyone listening to this as well, head over to thyroidresetsummit.com. Make sure you subscribe there as well. Evan, anything else?
Our plugs. People have these issues every day, all day. These are things we work with every day, all day. So if you want help from Justin, please reach out to his website, justinhealth.com. You can schedule a call from around the world. For me, my site is evanbrand.com. We don't care who you work with, as long as you get the help you need. We're just happy to be of service to you guys.
Yeah, 99.9% of people that we help you never even meet because they get access to our free content and they start utilizing it. And then some need, deeper, more hand-holding and need deeper assessment. So that's why we're here. And glad that everyone is enjoying the podcast. And we'll be back. Evan, you have a phenomenal day. Good chatting with you, man.
You too. Take care. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Got a question for Dr. J? Go to beyondwellnessradio.com and click the questions button. Then tune in to hear the answer. Also, if you like the show, click below to review us on iTunes. For more Beyond Wellness Radio, go to beyondwellnessradio.com.